friends call me Cal, so please feel free to do so.
Natasha Lannin, and my friends call me Tash.
Bring it on. There we go. We just want to say hello from moody old Melbourne, the masked singer of Melbourne, also known as Nam, or traditionally known as Nam. And we want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are beaming brightly to you from. So thank you for having us. So today we really wanted to talk about what we were invited to do, which David actually got onto each of us separately and said, I want you to, can you come and talk about your project? And it's really funny because Tash and I rang Tash and I was like, what the fuck is our project? We're both what's our project? What's our project? Because we've done all this sort of collaborative work together. And we realized that actually our project is us. Our project is our partnership, and it is about how we constantly navigate a world where we want to achieve a vision of the world. And we really use our shared values, our agreed upon mission, and our modes of how we do that to really amplify one another's work. Tash will actually talk at some point, just FYI. But the thing I wanted to kick off the chat about, which is really about how we established trust in our relationship and how we navigate that trust and how we constantly keep this space safe. And I think it gets bandied around a lot. But for you right now, I want you to think about in terms of the trust in your most trusted partnership. That might be a lover, that might be a brother, that might be a family member, it might be a work colleague. But what for you constitutes trust, and what keeps that trust and what breaks it? I think that, we think about our trust and on reflection of how we've continued, we commit to one another. We've been sort of thinking about, well, what do we do, and what have we been doing, and how are we doing it, and how does it keep us going forward in truly collaborating together? And we realized that some things that really keep us connected is that we have shared values. Probably the most important thing for us is that we share some values, and that's really how we actually connected. But for you, Tash, what would you say is our number? We don't have this written, by the way. We're riffing, we trust each other. So what is what's your shared value from our relationship?
I think for both of us, obviously with a number of people with living experience around acquired brain injury and stroke, traumatic brain injury, we have a shared mission. We both want to leave this world whenever it is, with some things that we've noted as not being quite right, hopefully a bit better.
Yeah.
But I think for you and I as a partnership, we have a firm belief in trust, in working together, in being able to hold one another to account, because we've built that over time, and that comes with trust. But I also think that family is really some things that are outside the clinical kind of world.
I thought you'd say that. But it's so true. Yeah. It's I feel I should just for a bit of context, if you're watching and you don't know what Cal or Tash is, because I didn't know what Tash, when I first got an email from Tash, which was, the vicarious hookup of Tash and I connecting was through our wonderful friend Emma G, who is if you want to talk about author and inspirational speaker and occupational therapist, okay, thank you. But Emma hooked us up because I had to, Em sort of asked if I would sort of be her understudy for a conference that that Tash was facilitating a session. And when I first was engaged with, at the time it was a prof, Natasha Lannin, Photo, like all these things, PhD, I'm like Pantene Pro V. Okay, like what I don't know what this stuff is. But I was like a prof, she's a professional, a prof. I don't know what that means. But either way, it carried this weight, this really, I'm someone who, though I have living experience of stroke, I also have living experience of in my pre-stroke life being a performer and now I've got living experience of being a brother and running Genius Network and all sorts of things. But hearing from this a prof, I was like, what's this going to be like? But it was just Tash. It was just a person going, hey, I really want you to like help us get some really good living experience voice in the room and shake up some system stuff. Want to get in? And it was the first beginning of us being able to go, oh, okay, we've got like this maybe different ways because you've got a different hat to me. And I'm a bit like, oh God, yours is fancier than mine. But it's really not actually, like, no offense. It's not.
No, but fancier. I think that is a really important point because those of us who are researchers have a responsibility, I think, to I'm not saying to play down all the degrees. I'm pretty proud of the degrees I have, by the way.
Bring it on.
But it is important that we level the playing field.
Totally.
Somewhat, right? And I think being able to remind ourselves as researchers that we hold significant power in these relationships, but just quietly, people with living experience can be frightening as well, not just researchers with letters after our names, right? Because I'm scared I might get it wrong. And I think it takes trust for me to be able to say what I'm thinking and perhaps get it wrong and have you sort of remind me that there's a better way of doing this. Because we did that too early now.
Totally.
I got it really wrong with a 14-page consent form that was so not genius-like. Right?
That's so true. Well, I mean, if you don't know, so we represent, from myself, I founded a global community and story sharing platform called Genius Network, which is helping also put on this event. But Tash, you're a professor of neuroscience. And I think that as we were beginning, we really didn't know, I think, how do we actually navigate this system so it feels like truly equitable?
Yeah, merged.
Rather than, but actually what we do, and I think what we're committed to do in this kind of marriage of sorts, is that we connect on our shared values. We're grounded in them. We've sought them out to go. That's why I knew you'd say family. But we also believe in the power of peer-led. We believe in the power of that non-bias, that how do we not influence outside the cohort? Yeah. And I think that some of these shared values have really helped us then go, well, how do we, what's our vision? What's our vision of the world that we want to both leave, hopefully in a while for both of us, but what's the world we want to see? And I feel like, I mean, we've never even probably articulated it together, but I feel like we say probably very similar things of what we want to see. We want every person to be empowered and emotionally resilient and connected and have agency to participate, in their life, whatever that vocation is. It's not specific to a category. And I think that we, through seeing that shared vision together with the principles of our value system, we then can connect and collaborate on whatever project. I mean, when we did we piloted the first roundtable together, and some peeps in the room right now were part of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. and I mean, that process was so interesting because as you said, we there's so much sort of hesitation from each part of the relationship. Where are we at for time?
No, we've got
we got stacks. Oh, great. Well, we never know, and I'm gonna play the stroke card if I need to, guys. But we really had to go. I had to really understand. So, what is the research priority of this, and then also what is the social and priorities around mental health and individual agency for this? And we really actually, I feel like we had to truly understand, remove ego from the equation, remove any sense of thing that's going to like fracture us being able to go, well, let's find what we can agree on so we can make it work for one another.
But it was bumpy at the start, right? Like the truth is that you had to be brave to sort of go to this person that you'd only just met.
Yeah.
Stop for a second, this doesn't feel right. I probably started out doing exactly what Dash just told us was probably not great. You know, I came with this idea that what I want to do is this peer-led focus group on return to work, and I had the research questions set at the start, which you're not meant to do for co-design. And so then Cal had to be brave to say, can we start afresh? Can we revisit all of this? And I think for me, I'm very open. I was very open to revisiting.
Oh gosh, yeah.
There was though a moment where you sort of reminded me, schooled me, said, "Can we change the consent form because it's super not genius?"
Yeah.
And my people won't understand. My community won't understand your community's consent form to start with, Tash. It's just a bit much.
100%. And I guess from that, like I received this an email that was sort of like, you know, trying to explain, like, you know, getting consent through and how do we, you know, what are just the pragmatic perfunctory pieces that need to happen. And I was like, can we sort of sex this up a bit? Can we sort of like, we would sort of be like, yo team, what's up? This is what this is on the DL, this is what's going to happen. And by sort of figuring out, well, I think that actually the truth is that I sort of came back and said, can we push this with a dancing GIF and people in eye patches going, wow, let's do research together. Can we make that work? And Tash did, well, what did you do? Other than freak out.
I internally freaked out. I think I probably said something like, no, that's fine, with a face that sort of is trying to hold itself. And meanwhile, I'm kind of like clutching the table thinking, I'm going back to ethics with this and they might hate it. But I said, let's have a go. And, you know, truly, the other thing that surprised me about that project was that Sophie, our collaborator, and I had already sort of like worded up the ethics committee to potentially do some surveys with them about why they hated the dancing GIF virtual email invitation video consent. And bugger me, but they liked it. They just sailed through ethics, no problem. So it kind of also was this good lesson to me to, just because I've always done things the way that I have with my 14 pages of size 12 Times New Roman font, doesn't mean that that's the right way to work with communities. So I guess that really helped too. We had some sort of those conversations about doing it differently. That worked, but ultimately that helped to build that trust, really, didn't it?
Totally. And we booked out in 4 days. Everyone came through and we were like, yeah, let's do it.
Props to really properly engaging with community that you're trying to research with, because if you do it right, we haven't had any problems with recruitment or engagement, because it really has mattered to the community that we've been hanging out with, really.
Totally. And I think that, you know, it's that thing of we were able to sort of go, okay, so what needs to happen here? What needs to happen from me? And then really going back to the project being our partnership is going, okay, so what next? And really, I think that in terms of what's next is going to just happen, because when we recollide, like right now, it's based on a very solid foundation of trust and a very, very safe space. And when I talk about a safe space, I mean something that is very specific, affirming, fun, engaging. It's a very specific acronym there for a reason. That is a guide for how we each need to engage with each other. It's not even just one person's responsibility. We each need to be going, you prefer Tash? I prefer Cal. How do we affirm each other? You know, Tash did something, I should say, my background was being a performer before I had my stroke. And one of the biggest things in an improvisation that you get taught at drama school, so if anyone's a dramatic person on the line, you'll hear me, but is that to keep a scene going, you have to say yes and. You have to accept an offer, and then that can keep the scene going. But as soon as you say no but, it ends the scene, and someone has to make a new, we've got to put out a new fire. We've got to say, oh, there's a comet now coming. But Tash, in that instance, really yes-anded, probably a quite challenging sort of new way of doing it. I think
Sorry, that's a beautiful way of wrapping that up, Cal. But we really wanted to give people a bit of a sense of Genius Network.
Yeah.
That Cal founded, and Cal's got a video that we'd really like to play for everyone.
Hello, my fancy researcher friend. Are you looking to conduct some meaningful research? Are you looking to find a specific cohort and stay connected with them? Do you want to make a positive social impact? Welcome to Genius Roundtable, a digital platform for a peer-led focus group. Here, people with shared commonalities connect via video forum and discuss research which directly involves their broader peers. Questions are provided by, but not guided by, reputable research groups to enhance the lived experience of the focus group along with their broader peer networks. You directly benefit by being provided with a safe online space where peers share unabridged testimony, by collecting non-biased research data, by building trust between participants and researchers, and finally, by having ongoing engagement with lived experts. So, if you want to find the specific participants you need, co-design your entire research process, follow up with any information or surveys that you need, create research that has no bias, plus have ongoing engagement with lived experts, book your Genius Roundtable consultation now.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, Cal and Tash. There's so much that just came up, and I can't believe you guys do that kind of, not scripted or anything. There's just so much that I'd love to kind of pick up on in the discussion, and some fantastic, ideas about, we're coming back to this kind of leveling thing about, removing the labels and the ego and all of that. And there's some amazing stuff going on in the chat as well about your consent forms and how that's relevant for people with language difficulties. And I'd love to pick that up at the end as well. So thanks so much, Cal and Tash. And next, I'd like to introduce Colin Brokenshire and Kate Gould with a really fascinating project.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to be here at the forum.